So, The Athletic's Sam Amick did a little article discussing how he thinks that, or he writes that Chris Paul is holding out hope that he could be in the starting lineup alongside Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. And we have a little soundbite here that I'm going to play. This was Chris Paul when asked whether or not he'd be comfortable or ready to start to come off the bench. And this is what he had to say.
You'd be coming off the bench playing with the second unit that's a lot younger than the Warriors of the past have been with J.K. and Moses. Just what do you think of their depth, their bench players that you might be playing alongside?
You coaching?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what the situation is going to be yet. You know what I mean? So I think that'll be for us to figure out once we get going.
You've never come off the bench in your entire career. Is that something that you'd be willing to do?
Like I said, it'll be a conversation for us when camp starts or whatnot. But me and Steve have talked or whatnot. But that ain't something that you'd be like, "What up, man? Where you starting? You coming up?" You know what I mean? So I think we'll figure all that stuff out in camp.
So it seems like he believes he's probably going to start for the Warriors. So I want to know, do you see Steve Kerr adding Chris Paul to the starting lineup alongside Curry, Klay? Do you take out Wiggins for Draymond or whatever? Do you see Chris Paul being a part of that starting lineup?
I don't, actually. I don't see it. I mean, he is not the run and gun type point guard. He is a half-court set guy, and that's not the Warriors' game. And I don't see Steph Curry being happy that somebody else is going to be handling the ball and controlling the distribution of the ball like he does. I mean, he's a great point guard, Steph Curry. He's a great shooter. He's a great shooter and a great point guard. So why would you put Chris Paul in there as the starting point guard? I don't think so.
I mean, that is a good question. They do run a different style of offense. They're more running gun, and Chris Paul is set up at half court, slower, pick and roll, that type of an offense. But I just want to bring up a little statistic here. So this is Chris Paul and his starting stats. So Chris Paul is a starter, about 18 points a game, about 4.5 rebounds, about 10 assists per game. He's shooting about 50%, and he's shooting 37% from three. That is, in my mind, that's a Hall of Fame point guard career. Now, probably first ballot Hall of Fame. Like, that is a true point guard Hall of Fame statistical line. And this is Chris Paul off the bench. Oh, wait. He hasn't played a single game off the bench. So in his mind, even at 38 years old, 39 years old, he believes he's going to be a starter again. And I have a problem with that on multiple accounts.
Now put his stats back up there again.
Which one?
Not those. I mean, those are easy to see. But what is Steph Curry's career assists per game?
I'll look it up right now.
I mean, because he beats out Chris Paul in rebounds and points per game for sure. Steph Curry's points per game are up in the high 20s.
So Curry's points per game for his career is 24.6. His rebounds are only 0.2 higher. His assists are 6.3. But he is a better shooter, almost 50% from the floor and nearly 43%. 48% from the floor and about 43% from three.
He plays point guard.
He does play point guard.
So
about 3 assists.
So you're taking
below.
a step down by having Chris Paul as your point guard.
Well, I mean, you're getting less scoring and about basically about the same amount of rebounds. The assists, though, Chris Paul is more of a distributor. You have 9.5 compared to 6.5. So that is what it is. But I will say this. So I harped on this the entirety of last season when we discussed the Warriors because they start off 0-7 to start the season, I believe, on the road, and it was abysmal. And it turns out, going to the season, they have the same problem that I saw almost immediately. They're too small. They are right now the second smallest team in the NBA. Their average height is about 6'2". That's tiny. And here's last year. They were 30th in turnovers. They turned the ball over an immense amount. They didn't get to the free throw line. 30th in free throw attempts. They were 28th in fouls. They fouled a lot as well. 25th in blocks, 14 in steals. So they were below average on defense. So they weren't a good defensive team. Chris Paul does not add a lot of defense. They were high in turnovers. You should basically, that might go down a little bit because Chris Paul is more a distributor, a mature distributor, not going to have Jordan Poole, tossing the ball and being, hectic with the ball, create these fancy plays. 30th in free throw attempts. Generally, a lot of your free throw attempts come from attacking the basket or giving it to a big man who can then just body his way through down low and dunk the ball and get a foul call on you every now and then. The Warriors don't have that. They got Kevon Looney. So if Chris Paul is going to be in the starting lineup, this would be their starting lineup. It'd be Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney. You take Wiggins out, and Wiggins was a very key part of your finals run, was it 2 seasons ago? So he was a huge part of your run. So if you're going to tell me that Chris Paul is going to start, I think this is a terrible idea because there's no chance. I literally see zero chance that the Warriors are going to repeat with Chris Paul in the starting lineup. I think Chris Paul's role should be you go in the second lineup, you teach like Moses Moody and Kuminga, all these younger guys, teach them how to work within an offense. Get him up to speed. Be that, veteran player. So when you come out in the second team, it's not just a bunch of kids on the floor. You could actually have a key distributor that could help out with getting you to your spot and everything like that. I think it's very, very important that that's what Chris Paul's role should be. But we'll have to wait and see because I genuinely don't think that Chris Paul should be expecting to be part of the starting lineup. And if he is, I really think he's going to be disappointed. Because then Steve Kerr is going to need to move someone who is, a huge, huge integral part of that offense. Honestly, who do you think that they would want to bench? Would you bet? I don't think you'd bench Klay. Would you bench Wiggins? Would you bench Draymond? Who would you bench if you're the Warriors? If you're going to accommodate Chris Paul?
Well, who's the shooting guard?
Right now, it's Klay Thompson.
I don't see benching him.
I don't think you can.
I don't know how he fits in the lineup. You can't bench Wiggins, and you got to keep Looney in there. He's the only tall guy you got.
Right.
So I don't see how it fits. As I said, I don't think there's room for him to be the starting point guard.
So you're saying that? I
think it makes sense. I can see it making sense. Him coming off the bench.
Okay.
For during the season, 20 to 22 minutes a game. Yeah,
really?
Yeah. I don't think the guy has injury issues.
Right.
If you play him too much, he's going to be subject to he's going to have problems with the injuries. So I think that he'll come off the bench and they'll go to a half court. They'll have 2 offenses. They'll have a half court set when he's on the floor, and they'll do the run and gun when Curry's the point guard. Well, and I think that could make some sense.
If you're dropping
they have. Do they still have Iguodala, or is he still on the team?
He's one of those veteran guys that plays a game.
He could be out there in the half court set. They don't run that much.
Iguodala
right?
doesn't play. He's gonna be. He's like the 15th man.
Well, they need to maybe build a bench around a half court set.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But then, if you do that, right? Let's say you build that second unit, right? So you got Moses Moody and Kuminga and everyone else out there. What are you going to do if Kuminga or Moses Moody are in that first lineup? Well, what if they're with Curry, Draymond, and Klay and Looney? One of them swaps out. They're going to be in a different offense. So do you think it's more likely now that Chris Paul adapts to the Warriors, or will the Warriors need to change the sort of a half-court pick-and-roll style of an offense? I don't see them doing it. So I think Chris Paul is going to need to adapt, or at least don't do primarily that half-court pick-and-roll stuff. Implement some of what the Warriors do, just with a little bit of pick-and-roll. Sort of what Tom Brady did when he went to the Buccaneers. The first, about 3/4 of the season, it was mainly Bruce Arians' offense. Tom Brady ran what Bruce Arians wanted him to run. And then remember, at the bye week, we saw a new offense come out. There was more motion. There was some more play action. Brady got into his style of offense with Bruce Arians and what's his name? Byron Leftwich's game plan of the no risk it, no biscuit style of an offense. So he implemented both styles, but you had your trial run. You actually had more of a trial run with the Bruce Arians, just pure no risk it, no biscuit offense. And then that bye week hit, Brady implemented his offense, and it worked fine. So maybe, you know what? Give it about a month or so. I would say about a month. sort of do that second team does Chris Paul's offense. And if that doesn't work and your second team, as soon as Curry, Klay are off the court, your net rating just plummets, then Chris Paul has to adapt to the Warriors' style of offense. What I find it very, very fascinating is that the best starting five, when talking about net rating, the Warriors' starting five was the best, hands down. A net rating, the Warriors were number one. So Curry, Klay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Looney, the best starting five in the NBA. So you can't bench either one of those guys because they were the best starting five in the NBA last season. So Chris Paul, he's got an ego. It's got to drop. But if you're saying,
plus it's Steph Curry's team,
right?
So he's not going to give up being the point guard.
Obviously,
the starting point guard is not going to be Chris Paul. I'm sorry.
Well, you said what, 22 minutes a game for Chris Paul?
Yeah, I think during the season, playoffs, probably more.
Well, that would be a 10-minute decrease from last year. At 37 years old, he was playing about 32 minutes a game.
Yeah, and he got hurt.
And he did get hurt in the playoffs. But I still, like, people say that Chris Paul, if he played against the Nuggets, the Suns would have had a better shot. I don't think so. Chris Paul was out there, you were getting annihilated. No one could stop the Nuggets. I mean, we saw what the Lakers did to the Warriors. The Nuggets swept them. 4 games. Now, the Lakers, I think, were in basically every single one of those games. They still got 4-0'd.
I know.
And look what the Heat did to the East. They won it more than every team in the East.
Plus, they're going to be upgraded. If they get Lillard, they'll be a better team than they had last year.
Here's the thing. I don't like.
Really, I mean, they in the playoffs. They were down. They were undermanned. They didn't have Tyler Hero.
Right.
They didn't have Oladipo.
Right. They didn't have him throughout the playoffs, though.
And they played players that didn't play that much during the year. Duncan Robinson didn't play that much during the year.
He had confidence issues that was improved on this year. He came back with more confidence. But here's the thing: who's saying, right? Depending, like I saw a report a couple days ago. The Heat offered just Tyler Hero and 3 first-round picks. In my mind, we talked about this before. The Blazers don't want Tyler Hero, so stop offering him.
It's going to take a 3-team deal to do that.
And I agree with you on that. But who's saying that it won't be like Phoenix last year? You're really top-heavy, and then when Jimmy Butler and Bam come off the court, because they're going to play 40-plus minutes a game, you're going to have Dame and then just nobodies. It's going to be like the Suns. Who's saying that all of a sudden, oh my God, the Heat are going to be so good? Yeah, in the regular season, they might look great. And the Suns last year in the regular season with KD, they look pretty good. I think, KD was undefeated in the regular season when he played with the Suns? They go into the playoffs, and as soon as you play, a strong team who has a solid bench like the Nuggets, look what happened. It needed a 70-plus combined performance, 70-point-plus combined performance from KD and Devin Booker to win you 2 games at home. And then when you went back to Denver, you got annihilated because you're too top-heavy. Who's saying that won't happen to Dame and the Miami Heat? I think that's a serious part. But to say that Chris Paul starting in the lineup, that is a bad idea. And I think me and you could both agree with it. I agree
on that one. I love Chris Paul. I think he's a great player. I like his fire. I like his enthusiasm for the game. He's a real competitor, a great team player. I love the guy, but I just don't think he fits into the starting scheme of the Warriors. And as you say, they have the best starting 5 in the league was ranked last year. So yeah. I just don't see that, but we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.